Fauci gets held in contempt. The Navy is now experimenting. This is such a cool idea with 3D printing drones on board ships. It's a brilliant idea. I'll tell you why coming up. Boomers, well, you ought to give your life savings to your kids. Problem is, none of us have any. And the guy arrested for the Spokane fire has been investigated before. Guess what for? Yeah, no surprise. Mm-hmm. Oh, man. Welcome to the Jay Sheldon Show. Happy Friday. It is Friday. We're here. We're live on Rumble and YouTube. And thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. Be sure and follow and subscribe on whatever channel and platform you're watching us on. Thank you very much. Danny, oh my Lord in heaven. Hey guys, what did I miss? Good morning, everybody. Get that school schedule back on track and can't wait to spend my mornings with you guys again. We missed you a lot. Great to have you back on track. How about that? Man, Shevitz, it's good to see you. All right. Fauci, this was not my lead, and then it just broke, so I thought, all right, I'll stick it up front. Fauci's been held in contempt, and here's what happens next. Now that a Senate committee has voted to hold Dr. Scumball, Anthony Fauci, in contempt, a lot of speculated about what might be next. Well, now the resolution is going to go to the Senate floor for a full vote. But even if that doesn't happen, Senator Paul suggests even the upper chamber does not, even if it doesn't approve the resolution, he might very well send it straight over to the Justice Department anyway. Oh, Rand Paul is not putting up with any of Fauci's bullshit. A U.S. committee voted Thursday to hold Fauci in contempt of Congress after, of course, his ridiculous, Fifth Amendment crap. Homeland Security Government Affairs Committee approved a federal referral push by its Republican chair, Rand Paul of Kentucky, to refer Fauci on a party line vote of 8-7. The vote followed a hearing last week where Fauci, 85 years old, scum of the earth, retired in 2022. And of course, you saw the fiascos of him with the Fifth Amendment. Well, Paul suggested the vote might not be necessary because he said he would send this referral directly to the Department of Justice with a legal brief. If the referral proceeds, Attorney's office in Washington, run by Jeannie Pirro, would review it and decide whether to seek a grand jury indictment. After this resolution gets referred to the Justice Department, this is our good friend Jeannie Pirro. You know what she's going to do with it. She does not put up with any crap. The full Senate could vote after the chamber returns in August. Although he's prioritized the DOJ recommendations, he said holding a witness in contempt is a very serious thing and it should be rare, but the contempt power exists for precisely these circumstances. Go get them. Go get them. One way or the other, this man needs to be in a jumpsuit behind bars. Absolutely. And this was part of our thumbnail tonight, but Fauci's wife, she has stayed so under the radar. I didn't even know he had a wife. But she was so pissed off about this contempt vote, she let it rip. Thursday, not a good day for the old Fauci family, and the stress of it all might very well be catching up with them. Now, he didn't look happy at all, but his wife was the one who really let her emotions get the better of her After getting the recycling all squared away, Fauci hopped into the passenger seat of the family car, and his wife, Christine Grady, took the wheel. She seemed to notice a photographer nearby as they drove out of their property, and much like her husband, she wasn't very pleased. And she flipped the photographer the bird. There she is, as they drove away. Yes, that is Mrs. Fauci. She seems like just as much of a down to earth old salt as her freaky husband. My God. Okay. I'm laughing because if I don't, I'll cry because this man cannot escape justice. He cannot escape justice. Please. Please. All right. The Navy, this was originally going to be my lead. It's such a cool story. Drones, certainly one of the latest and greatest in military technology we've seen in a long time. And they're being used against land and sea targets, real good effect. They'll not only be growing a lot more versatile as our military members find new uses for them. My money's on the E4 mafia where innovation is concerned, but now there is a tech company in the US in the Navy working on a way to 3D print drones on board ships, presumably while at sea. But think about it. Defense technology company is producing 3D printed drones on a Navy ship at sea using containerized microfactories, aiding the Navy in their pursuit of easily built autonomous technology that could quickly boost a warship's weapon capacity. Firestorm Labs manufactured more than 1,000 parts and 12 of its proprietary 3D printable first-person view squall drones on board the Wasp-class amphibious assault ship USS Essex as it transited towards RIMPAC 2026 in Hawaii. Every part XL printed on deck is one that doesn't need to be flown or shipped across contested waters, cuts the fuel, the aircraft hours, the personnel it takes to keep a ship operational, repairs that once meant days or weeks, waiting for resupplies, could now happen in hours on board the ship. You see the implication here? It's it's all about logistics, but these are critical. Instead of shipping pallets and pallets of drones to ports, and then you got to load them up on the ship or stock them up in replenishment ships and take them out to the. You don't have to do any of that. You just ship them to build them on the ship. There's one catch: the raw materials to make the drones will potentially take up the same space and weight as the drones themselves. There'd be some added advantage, right? Making parts on demand. It's an absolutely brilliant move. Another notion, while being quick to fabricate not only drones, but also the repair parts. There's another possibility. What about creating drones custom tailored for specific purposes? Flying drones, sea drones, submarine drones, drones for reconnaissance, intercept drones, drones to attack ships. The possibilities are absolutely endless. Now, this Firestone Labs describes this as exponentiary manufacturing, which appears to consist of a containerized industrial scale 3D printing setup, needless to say, which could have a lot far reaching implications than just printing drones. And it's something that also might be useful for fabricating other parts for the ship. The E4 mafia probably going to find other ways of using the tech. If there's a way to make a job easier, those E4s are going to find it. That's for damn sure. It is an amazing world we live in, folks. And this To me, this is an absolutely brilliant idea. Brilliant idea. And speaking of brilliant ideas, here we go again. President Trump brushed off the Supreme Court setback and has signed two new birthright citizenship executive orders. Trump never hid his disappointment and annoyance with the June Supreme Court decision that struck down his EO limiting birthright citizenship. He said, "It's too bad for our country," he wrote on social media at the time. But truly Trump, he did not just take it lying down. The Department of Justice almost immediately sent out a department-wide memo ordering federal prosecutors to prioritize investigations and prosecutions of scammers who try to game the system. Thursday, meanwhile, just yesterday, he signed two executive orders to, one, formally classify who is ineligible to take advantage of birthright citizenship, and two, clamp down on the practice known as birth tourism, where fraudsters abuse the visa system and find other ways to magically be in this country when their babies are born, thus granting them automatic citizenship. Trump at the Oval Office signing ceremony said, "We're making adjustments because it's very, very unfair. They're building businesses around birthright citizenship, and that's not the way it was supposed to work. This is a disgrace. Take a look."
Very unfortunate decision in the Supreme Court concerning birthright. It was close, but a very, very unfortunate decision. So we're making adjustments because it's very unfair. This was done for a different reason. This was done right after the Civil War. This was for the babies of slaves. And what's happening now, people are building businesses around it. From wealthy people are building businesses around birthright citizenship. That's not the way it's supposed to work. It's a disgrace. They're buying their way in, and we're not going to let it happen.
"We're not gonna let it happen," he says. Good on you. Supreme Court aide Stephen Miller, Trump aide rather, Stephen Miller, said they're going to put an end to the scam. The president's using his authority as commander-in-chief to sign first an executive order using the new ruling the Supreme Court issued to expand the definition of people who are ineligible for birthright citizenship. That includes, for example, alien enemies of the U.S., members of the foreign terrorist organizations, large categories of people who lobby and act on behalf of foreign governments. Terrorists, alien enemies should have already been ineligible. Hard to believe they weren't, but they weren't. And that second action, which is especially historic, for the first time ever in American history, bans birth tourism. The idea that people come here pretending to be a tourist, pretending to be a visitor, saying they all want to go to Disneyland. But the real reason they're here is to pop out a puppy, to make the child an automatic citizen, leave the country, and then have a U.S. citizen card. How convenient. So that practice of birth tourism, as of the signing of that order yesterday, is hereby banned. He added that Trump made a lot of historic moves on illegal immigration, most notably removing Biden's welcome mat at the southern border. But he would have put this on his top three in terms of importance. He said it ends what's been one of the gravest and most egregious abuses of the American system. No word yet on Judge James Boasberg, who may be already trying to find ways to block the executive order, because that's what idiots like Boasberg does. We'll see. Hopefully not this time, baby. Oh, man. All right. How about a little blackout coffee? Whoa, yeah. Blackout Coffee, an American company. John Santos and his group of fantastic Americans over there do a great job. They work with local co ops and American farmers to grow the best beans, and then they get them right at the peak of freshness. They are ready for you. They only roast them after you place your order. Now, if you don't have a way to grind your own whole beans, that's okay because they offer on all their popular roasts the option, if you want, to have them grind them for you at Blackout Coffee. Flavored coffees, which are all incredible. Cold brew, coffee pods, instant, they've got it all. Check it out. Use the link down in our description over there and place your order. Just try a single bag. Find your favorite roast. Order a bag and give it a try. I promise you'll be back for more because it is really just that good. Always full flavored, bold, never ever bitter. And use the code J20, JAY20 at checkout. You'll get 20% off your first order. Always specials going on over there. John and the gang, great group of people to work with, an American company with a great American product. Blackout Coffee. All right. Well, despite JFK's opposition, hold on, before we get to that, Danny says, I was so beat I snuck some caffeine from Blackout the other day. The baby was kicking and punching away. She was a part of the Blackout crew. Well, all right. I suppose it's not the worst thing. All right. Despite JFK Jr.'s opposition, this, with everything we've gone through, why are we still here? The FDA has approved the first mRNA flu vaccines. Yeah, mRNA flu vaccines. Wednesday, they approved Moderna's mFlusiva, making it the first mRNA-based seasonal influenza vaccine authorized for use in the U.S. They approved the vaccines for adults ages 50 to 64, granted accelerated approval for people 65 and older. Moderna required to conduct a post-market clinical trial to confirm its effectiveness in older age groups. Apparently, the FDA's approval was not a given. Earlier this year, then FDA vaccine chief, Dr. Vinay Prasad, initially refused to review Moderna's application. But review it they did. And the FDA Independent Vaccine Advisory Committee voted unanimously that mFlusiva's benefits outweighed its risk. Sorry, not a doctor, not a scientist, but if it's got mRNA in the title, you can just keep that shit as far away from me as you possibly can. And in my personal opinion, if you take an mRNA anything shot, you have lost your freaking mind. Kennedy's called the COVID-19 vaccines the deadliest vaccines ever made. Questioned whether mRNA shots provide meaningful protection against any respiratory infections. Back in 2005, in August, HHS announced it was canceling and scaling back the 22 mRNA vaccine development projects worth about $500 million. Kennedy said the department was moving funding towards what he described as safer and broader vaccine platforms. Kennedy's opposed to this, and I can't say I blame him. Doctors could prescribe Mflusiva without an ACIP recommendation, but insurers would not necessarily be required to cover it. The issue now falls partly to the CDC's newly confirmed director, Dr. Erica Schwartz. The Senate confirmed Schwartz Wednesday after lawmakers pressed her on whether she would resist political interference in vaccine decisions. Schwartz said she would never betray the science. And yet, we've got yet another mRNA vaccine out there on the market. Ain't that just lovely? Something's got to give. Like I said, never, not in a million years. All right. We have heard a lot lately, and it's disgusting, about these teen street takeovers. I'm sure you've heard about it. It's been happening far more often than it should. How little blue city mayors like those in Chicago and Washington doing what they're very little about them. One D.C. councilwoman argued that listen to this, curfews are dangerous, she says, because they increase the chance these teens will be interacting with big bad law enforcement. That's the whole idea, you moron. Stay home, and police will leave you alone. Funny how that works, ain't it? We've also been seeing street takeovers in which young people get together to shut down a road so they can do donuts and burnouts with their cars. These morons had shut down I-75 in Florida, a state that is not having it. Highway patrol troopers rushed in, broke up a massive takeover of I-75. Take a look at this nightmare.
Hundreds of cars blocked every single northbound lane in Thonotasa, Florida. So authorities say some drivers were doing burnouts and spinning their tires in the middle of the interstate. Video shows drivers scrambling quickly to get back into their cars as troopers weaved in and out of this chaos, breaking up the illegal gathering. Now, while most of those involved were allowed to leave without facing any charges, authorities say a green BMW sped away, leading troopers on a dangerous chase that reached 140 miles per hour, nearly twice the posted speed limit.
Wow.
The driver eventually stopping for troopers. 25-year-old Julian Lugo faces charges of aggravated fleeing to elude and participating in a street takeover. Now, Lugo, he had 3 passengers in his car, a 24-year-old and 2 18-year-olds. Now, it's unclear how they're all related, but each were arrested. According to the Florida Highway Patrol, they are charged with misdemeanor highway racing and were booked in Hillsborough County Jail. And Harris, this is a disturbing trend. Many of these illegal street takeovers involve gun violence, but authorities say in this case, thankfully, nobody was injured.
Don't they just look like the best bunch of folks on the block? Aren't they just somebody you'd like to have over to your weekend barbecue? Yeah, I don't think so. Some say this video is not recent, but it is going a lot viral these days, the last few days. It depicts a Georgia state trooper showing exactly how you deal with these street takeovers, and we loves to see it.
What the heck?
Oh, the cops must be coming. That's it, the cops are coming. Oh, there you go. You go, baby. You go, baby. You go. You caught, buddy. You caught like a motherfucker. You caught, baby. You caught, baby. You caught, baby.
You know, I love these videos, but if the people who are shooting them would just freaking shut up, they ruin these videos. Anyway, good on that Georgia cop. He's not putting out, there he is getting out, gun drawn. I love it. Fantastic. Well, they don't put up with a lot of crap in Georgia these days, or ever. What's happening in Chicago? Community organizers arguing the community involvement could prevent these street takeovers. Yeah, that ain't gonna happen either, okay? Morons. We need more cops like that one in Georgia, is what we need. Danny commenting on the mRNA vaccine. COVID ruined it. FDA and CDC mean nothing to me anymore. So true. AJ was not vaxxed, and neither will this baby girl. They'll push the vitamin K shot, which I'm on the fence about, hearing the high traces of aluminum. All right. You got to make your own decisions, folks. I'm not making any recommendations. Like I said, I'm not a scientist, I'm not a doctor. I think you should check with your doctor, but you should check with more than just your doctor, because we all know how the doctors sucked up to it during COVID and spread that absolute lines of bullshit. So, where do you go these days? It's getting very, very, very difficult. Very difficult. All right. I am a boomer. I am indeed. I was born in 1958, a billion years ago. Yes, I'm that old. So I'm 68 and a half years old. Holy crap. I'm freaking old. Anyway, the years are catching up. There's an article from the Federalist that says boomers should give their life's earnings to their kids, not making a slow death last longer. Well, I have one son. His name is Ian Michael Sheldon. He is in North Carolina. After he turned 18, we pretty much became separated and estranged. I have not spoken to him in many, many years. But he's doing well, as far as I have been told. And things are good. Anyway, but Ian, if you happen, I know you're not, but if you happen to be watching, sorry, son, I'm broke and I got nothing to leave you, even if this article says that I should be saving my money that I spend on keeping me alive and giving it to you. Because of prolonging an inevitable end through expensive interventions, young generations may be seeing little, if not zero, money that their parents and their grandparents saved. Now, I know in my particular case it's unique, but thanks to decades of rising home prices, historically impressive bull markets, baby boomers possess more than half of the American household wealth. Really? Where's mine? That's apparently more than double the wealth controlled by Gen X, and 5 times as much as that controlled by millennials and younger generations. If you are a child or a grandchild of a baby boomer, you might think this is good news as long as you exhibit the appropriate piety towards your gracious elders. You'll be the recipient of their largesse. Indeed, some academics estimate in the next 20 years there will be an incredible wealth transfer of money and assets amounting to between, 68 trillion and 84 trillion dollars as we die off and leave our shit to our kids. Well, not me, but apparently there's a lot of boomers with a lot of assets out there. However, not so fast. The estimates really don't sufficiently consider the dramatically expanded costs of getting, like me, old, which may very well make all of that anticipated inheritance go away. Those who treasure family, passing traditions to the next generation, take note. According to data from the federally funded decades-long health and retirement study, the median American spent almost $20,000 out of pockets on various kinds of care in the final decade of their life. 20% of those persons spent more than $50,000 out of pocket, and 5% more than $100,000. It doesn't take many years of spending that kind of money. And sorry, Gen Z, your inheritance is gone. Holy crap. According to a study earlier this year, most Americans, many more than may appreciate it, will have very little left to pass on to future generations after they deplete their assets to pay for long-term care costs. Us trying to stay alive is costing you your inheritance. Sorry, but that's just the way things go. What do you want me to move to Canada and let them kill me so I can save you a little of your inheritance? Yeah, that ain't gonna happen. But according to this article, that seems to be what they're suggesting. Yeah, ain't gonna happen. I'm bringing it with me. Oh, man. 2 more cases showing exactly how dangerous illegal immigrants can be in this country and why ICE does its job and needs to do its job. It seems like a day does not go by that I don't see social media posts where people are insisting that ICE is the problem. ICE agents out there continuing to do a solid job of rounding up dangerous illegals who made their way into the U.S. Their track record very, very easy to see. But that isn't stopping thousands from insisting that they're the Gestapo, Nazis, merely doing Trump's dirty work, removing people that they think they're not doing any harm. Well, let me educate you, okay? Couple of recent cases you might want to pay attention to, in which ICE has shown why they do what they do. First, Rocail Ordon Cruz, 23 years old, originally from Guatemala. Ever since he came here, he racked up a slew of very serious charges for attacking women here in the U.S., including several counts of rape and other sex crimes. Of course, he managed to slip under the radar because former President Biden's lax border security eventually got arrested in Massachusetts for his crimes. According to reports, he was released from state custody. Doesn't go into detail as to why, but ICE wasn't having it. Our Boston officers arrested him at a correctional facility in Maryland where he was in custody. Again, this was Massachusetts. Now he's in Maryland in custody for multiple sex crimes. Now, it's impressive that ICE worked out so quickly that he was in Maryland being held and stopped him from hurting more people, which apparently he was just hell-bent on doing. He's in Massachusetts for those crimes. They release him, and he winds up in Maryland for the same stuff. I really want to know why Massachusetts thought it was fine and dandy to just let him go from custody, but there's no details. Might have something to do with their rather awful sanctuary state rules. Federal immigration office officials did note that he was served with a notice to appear before a Department of Justice immigration judge ICE continuing to hold him until those proceedings take place. But letting him go? Seriously? After he attacked multiple women? Just goes to show how much work Massachusetts really needs in the leadership department. Okay. Case number 2, and trust me, we could do a show from now until I'm dead with these kind of cases. 38-year-old Martin Martinez Balinas from Mexico, previously convicted 2017 for killing a U.S. Marine with his car, which resulted in him being deported. Surprise! He got back in, not once, but twice. And just when he thought he was going to get away, was slipping under the radar, ICE once again valiantly stepped in and stopped him cold. ERO Network Acting Field Office Director Arthur Wilson Jr. noted Balinas repeatedly and flagrantly disregarded the laws of the United States and now, for the third time, faces deportation and likely final. Federal offenses carry serious consequences, and we will continue, he says, to enforce the law to protect our communities and honor those who serve our nation. The father of 21-year-old James Ray Walden III discussed his son's death, as well as how idiotic it is that Democrats are trying to abolish ICE despite their incredible progress. He says it's got to be one of the most insane ideas I've ever heard. I can't believe that they're condemning our ICE agents and our DHS for actually doing their jobs and enforcing the laws that Congress passed. Absolutely nailed it on the head. This man lost his son to an absolute monster. And both times, Biden just simply let him slip under the radar right back into this country. Not to mention that Ordonez Cruz got away with so much, and thanks to sanctuary state rules, almost got away with doing more. You can criticize ICE all you want, but you take one look at what they do and what they protect you and I from, and it makes it very plain and very, very simple. They, along with our Border Patrol agents, getting the job done, period. Pointing fingers, insisting they're Nazis and monstrous. Oh, go ahead, do that all you want. But trust me, you blue-haired idiots, they are doing more for this country than you and your ilk ever thought of. Ever. I absolutely 1000% support these people in their efforts. And any Democrat or blue-haired, nose-ringed idiot that says otherwise, get the fuck out. It's about moving forward and getting the job done. Danny, do they have the Safety Act like we do? I've been reading a lot about sex offenders in my hometown getting released because of the Safety Act. I do not know, nor do I know what the Safety Act, SAFE space T. I never heard of it. Don't know. Explain it to me if you know. All right. There is one hell of a forest fire going on in Spokane right now in Washington, and they have arrested a guy for this fire, and he has been investigated before. You want to know for what? 2 guesses. First one doesn't count. Yeah. The suspect, who torched hundreds of thousands of homes in western Washington, north of Spokane, has been, everybody now, on the radar of investigators before. According to the sheriff of Spokane County, the man who was arrested with a fanny pack full of waterproof matches, a butane lighter, and cigarettes over the weekend 4 miles away from the ignition point of the Spokane fire. He has been investigated not once, but twice in 2005 for, wait for it, arson. What? What? Say it isn't so. Oh, that's not all. No, it is not. Indeed, the suspect, Aaron Farinacci, 37 years old, was convicted of killing his father while living in Arizona. And, more importantly, in regard to this conflagration, has already been investigated twice for arson in Spokane last year. Look, we're all adults in the room. We care about civil rights, due process, which is why we wonder if the reason he wasn't detained for arson, for which he was investigated last year, is because there wasn't enough evidence. Good question, which at this point we've got no answer for. Might deduce that that's the case, but I'm probably going to give you even odds that the reason he wasn't locked up and the key thrown away was because the district attorney just probably didn't feel like it. And speaking of evidence, circumstantial evidence is not the only kind of evidence that exists in this latest case. According to Spokane County Sheriff John Knowles, the alleged firebug was seen by an eyewitness within 10 square meters of the ignition point of the fire. Witnesses called 911, reported the guy, whom later was identified in a lineup. Maybe spending a decade in prison for killing your dad, pointing a gun at your mom, and shooting yourself in one incident would make you a little weird. That is this guy's history. So weird, maybe you begin to manifest your weirdism by, setting fires. Or maybe he was a mental case the entire time. Funny you should ask. According to reports, our alleged arsonist was a complete mental case growing up and needed regular psychiatric care, according to KIRO 7 News. A judge found Farinacci was mentally fit to assist in his own defense, but his lawyer continued to raise questions about his mental health, saying he'd been hospitalized multiple times for psychiatric treatments. Arizona prosecutors gave him a reduced second-degree manslaughter charge, and instead of spending his life in prison, he was given a 10-year sentence. Now we learn the nutball who shot his father never completed a mental health evaluation. We get some minders for the people whose job it is to watch psychotic mental cases. Would that be possible? That'd be nice. Why did 400 Spokane families have to lose their homes in what they're calling the Old Trails fire? Because a mental case wasn't being watched by caring adults in a psychiatric facility. Absolutely disgusting. We have lost the plot. Safety Act eliminates cash bail. They get caught and can no longer be held on bail. Just release them back to the streets. Boy, that sounds like a pure red, white, and nothing but blue city, if you ask me. Are you kidding? Is this a state thing, or a county thing, or a local thing? That is nuts. Safety, which makes no sense. So, a no cash bail. I don't even want to know. Insane. All right, we're done, folks. Thank you for popping by. I really appreciate it. I know it has. I know Illinois has it, but not sure in other states. Well, let's hope not too many of them do. No surprise for Illinois. All right. That's it. We're done. It's a Friday. Enjoy your weekend. Spend it with someone you love. We'll be back here on Monday morning at 9 a.m. for the Monday edition of the Jay Sheldon Show. Have a great weekend, everybody.